With the arrival of the new Xbox Li X, I'm interested to see how good it is compared to something like the Steam Deck OLED. In this video I'm gonna go head to head between the two. I want you to remember how much more expensive the Xbox Li X is when compared to the Steam Deck OLED. Because on paper, the Xbox Li X could potentially be the best handheld gaming PC out there on the market. But how does it fare against the Steam Deck OLED? And I know this is kind of like an apples to oranges comparison. While they are both a handheld PC in a body of a console, they are fundamentally a little bit different, and because of that, it is not the same kind of comparison as something that is exactly the same. But once again, those are also the same kind of a thing, because they're both handheld PCs in a body of a console. So which one is better as a gaming console? In my opinion, like the first thing I'm gonna say is, just looking at these two, there isn't too much that is similar between the two, other than just the idea of them. The Xbox Li X is a really nice screen which is Full HD up to 120 Hz, meaning you can game up to 120 frames per second, where the Steam Deck OLED is a 900p display with up to 90 frames per second. Here's the thing, how often can you actually play at full resolution and frame rates on either of the two? For indie games, both of these can clock in at full resolution and full frame rate, but when we are talking about bigger games, then it's gonna be some kind of a sacrifice. But in that regard, I would say that usually the games are gonna run better on the Xbox Li X. But we're gonna return to the games in a second. But what the Steam Deck OLED does have over the Xbox Li X is the bigger screen and an OLED screen, meaning that it's a bigger screen, which is self-explanatory, but also it is an OLED display, meaning that it's just a more colorful, more contrast-rich, and just a better overall looking image. But it's gonna be sharper on the Xbox Li X. In my opinion, both of these screens are great, and I love both of them for what they offer. I do wish the Xbox had an OLED display, but that would pretty much skyrocket the price even farther. While the Steam Deck has a pretty good screen that matches its power. From here, the ergonomics. Starting off with the older of the two, the Steam Deck OLED, it is a console that I always said is one of the most comfortable out there on the market. It's not too heavy, it has nice grip in the back, and overall even the buttons are in the right place where your fingers are when you game. So in my opinion, it is a very solid, ergonomically made console. In my opinion, it's always been the best one out of any that I tested. And the way it's made, thumbsticks a little bit higher, the buttons a little bit higher, just everything feels ergonomically perfect. And with the touchpads on the front, really makes it so fun and easy to use. It's really intuitive and just overall works wonderfully. Well, the new Xbox Li X has, in my opinion, even better ergonomics. This is, in my opinion, the new king in terms of ergonomics. I really like the way they made it with the design of the handles. This is pretty much like a proper controller at this point. And because of that, the control sticks are now finally on the Li in the place where my finger would be. So it's much more comfortable for something like a shooting game. Overall, I feel like it is really well made for a human hand. It feels like a controller with a screen in between. So it's much more ergonomic in my opinion. Out of the two, I would say this one is more ergonomic. It feels better in hand. I would say that the feeling of it is better. It feels much more like a game controller, if that makes sense. But it does feel a little bit better in my opinion. And just overall, the way it feels in hand, it does weigh a little bit more, but it just makes it for a really comfortable experience overall. Going a little bit farther, both of these have a front-facing speakers, with each being on one side of the screen, pretty similarly spaced out. I would say overall they are in the same exact location in regards to the whole body. I have to say the Xbox Li X has the better of the two. The speakers just are louder, more rich, more character to them. They just feel a little bit more full. Whereas the Steam Deck OLED doesn't have as good speakers. Well, they're really good, and I really like them too. But when comparing to side by side, I have to give it the edge to the Xbox Li X. The speakers here are incredible. Also, both of them have the back buttons. In Steam Deck's case, there's 4 back buttons, and on the Xbox Li X, there's 2 back buttons. But both of them support it, and if you like that kind of stuff, they're here. But we're now going into the most important part about these two, the games themselves, and the software that is surrounding them. But actually, let's start with the software itself. On the Steam Deck, we have the Steam OS, which is a Linux-based PC system. It is custom made for the Steam Deck, and it does make it seem to be much more like a console, where you turn it on and it goes straight into like the library mode, and then from there you are gaming. So it feels much more like a gaming console, rather than a handheld PC or a PC with Windows 11, for example. You can put it in desktop mode and use it like a PC, but it's gonna be a Linux-based PC. And because of the Linux base of this console, you can now play all the games on it. Those that need that extra security, like the online games, for example, usually cannot work on it. And while you can play games from different launchers, for most part, it is based on the Steam OS, so the Steam store. So your Steam library is here right from the get-go. And usually this is the way you're gonna play most of the games. But even then you have to check if the games from the Steam library are supported by the Steam Deck. Those that are working fine usually work really great. And especially this is amazing for backlog and indie games. Those run incredibly well on the Steam Deck OLED. And because it has a little bit less power, and because of that you probably play games that are a little bit less power hungry. Because of that, usually the battery holds nicely on the Steam Deck. So while it isn't the strongest console out there on the market, it definitely can play some great games on it. And speaking of games, if you're looking for games for your Steam Deck OLED, your Xbox One X, or any other handheld out there on the market, check out Instant Gaming. This is where I get my games for the handhelds from. For example, I was able to find the Batman Arkham Trilogy for just a couple of dollars, and there are many great deals on the website. And together with Instant Gaming, we're doing a giveaway where one of you can win a game of your choice. If you're interested in this month's giveaway, check out the link down below. But coming back to the games. Well, this has a more closed ecosystem with less possibilities. The Xbox One X has just much more possibilities. First off, it is based on the Windows 11, but this time they did have a much different version of it. When you first boot it up, it goes right away into something that is really similar to the Steam OS, which is your gaming library in the Xbox app. Essentially, it's like the Xbox big picture, where it right away turns into that. You can go into Windows 11 and use it like a traditional PC or a laptop, but just from the get-go, when you turn it on, it goes into the Xbox app, making it look much more like a console experience rather than a PC, which is a nice difference compared to older Windows 11 based handheld PCs. And make it much more like a console experience or a handheld console experience. But also because it's based on the Windows 11, meaning that you have much more possibilities. Not only have the Xbox app and the Game Pass for PC, you can also natively launch games from different launchers like EA or Ubisoft, making your library just much bigger because you can also play the games from your Steam library, meaning that you have not only the Steam library but also all the other games. And if you have Game Pass, you already have a big library from there. And now it just looks much more like a console. And also this is way stronger than the Steam Deck OLED. You can literally play games like Clair Obscur Expedition 33 in really nice details and nice frame rates. You can play Call of Duty or Forza Horizon in nice quality. Or playing something like Assassin's Creed Mirage in 60 frames per second on really nice settings is actually a really cool experience to have on a handheld like this. Overall, this is the more powerful and the more capable console of the two. You can just play more games at better visuals and frame rates. And in my opinion, overall, this is my winner in a head-to-head comparison. It is overall better in almost all regards. I only wish this was an OLED display, and maybe a little bit bigger display would be nice too. But there's one last key point between the two: the pricing of the two. For the price of the Xbox One X, you would probably be able to get something like the Xbox Series X and the Steam Deck OLED. This is literally way more pricey than you would expect. Even though it has the Xbox naming, it isn't really an Xbox. You cannot play the same games you have on your Xbox Series X already. If you bought some digital games for that, it's not gonna work here because this is considered a PC. Second off, it is now the most expensive Xbox out there because the Xbox Series X is way cheaper than this. This being a $1,000 console is on a more pricey side, where the Steam Deck OLED is a much cheaper experience. And depending on your region, this could be half of the price of the Xbox One X, meaning that this is just much more budget-friendly option, leaving you with some money for other consoles or for other experiences. So all in all, while I feel like technically speaking, this is the better of the two, there's not much I can say negatively about it, but looking at the price point, it is a hard pill to swallow at $1,000. It is much more expensive than a traditional home console. So I'm gonna have to leave you with that and let you decide which one is the better of the two. If you have any more questions about the Steam Deck OLED or the Xbox One X, let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.